You got it, girl, you got it.
All right, you guys, so you already saw my setup, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I spray alcohol on my hands first just to clean them again after I've washed my hands, of course, but I don't know, it's just like a thing that I do. So I'm going to be going in with the pH Bond, and this is by Gelish. And this is a dehydrator, and it just gets everything, super ready for you to go. I'm just literally following everything that I see between nail career education and long hair pretty nails. Those are the two people that I follow, and really Katrina's nails as well. Like, I got a lot of people. I'll try to link as many people down below so you guys can see who I've been like paying attention to and watching to get all of the tea. So now I'm using, these are new nail tips that I'm using from Sally's, and I mean, they're all right. They are a lot thicker than the ones that I had been used to using. As you guys saw in my video, I was using the EC basket ones before, but they weren't necessarily tips. They were more so just like a full nail, which is cool. But when I get started, I wanted to use a tip this time, and plus these were square, so it just kind of worked. I wanted to do a square nail. Now, normally I would have clipped all of my regular nails down, so if you do see that, I just left them there only because I wasn't doing a clear set underneath my nails. So usually when they're clear, I like to just go all the way down to the bottom, like, so you can't see any of my nail growing there. But yeah, so that's a whole thing. So I am just sizing up my nails. Again, when you guys are using the nails that come in like the tips and stuff, be very aware that the numbers are backwards. So what you would think would be the smallest, so I would think a 1 would be the smallest, or 0 would be the smallest, but it's actually the biggest. That's one of your big thumbnails. So that's kind of how it goes. It goes up and instead of down. I think I explained that correctly. So anyways, I'm just sizing all of my nails out and just making sure that they are fitting. I do find that my ring finger and my pointer finger can kind of interchange with what I'm using. Like, I can kind of fit both of those nails on there, but I have to also be careful with that because there is, like, I think it's my right hand. No, my left hand. My left hand has a weird shape. I don't know. Do you guys pay attention to the shapes of your individual nails? Now that I do my own, I do pay attention to that. So I write down like what tip I need to use from which brand. That way I'm able to next time just go right in and go right into the box and know which ones I'm using, so I don't have to do all that sizing and stuff for the next time. So I think that is something helpful to do if you're trying and testing out new things. Just keep you a journal and write down what works and what doesn't work. Like, I started noting which polygel I was using, which worked, which polygel didn't really work as good, and which style I was doing. Like, if I like the pink style, like nail glue, like all of that stuff, I just started keeping track of that so I know what to use. So now I am just putting the tips on, and like I said, this is a whole new tip for me. I have not previously used these before, so this was trial and error, just showing you guys how it should go on. So yeah, that's me being all out of the screen, and it just didn't want to, as you can see, like, it just didn't want to stick on there. And I'm going to say that it was probably a combination of user error and product. I'm gonna say that. Well, okay, maybe I'm not. I'm gonna say it was user error. This is not the fast drying glue, which is what I normally have, and I didn't realize that. I just grabbed the IBD glue from Sally's, and it was not the fast drying, although I should have got the fast drying one because that would have made a lot more sense to get the fast drying nail glue. But I don't know. Anyway, so that was a whole thing, and I kept having to like press down on his nails and all of that stuff. So that's kind of what you're seeing right now. All right, so I'm just wrapping up putting on those nails, and now you can see them all on, and they was thicker than a snicker. So now I'm just going on my Pinterest and showing you guys like how I kind of check out everything that I do on Pinterest. My design, like what I want to do, this is like reality versus real life anyways. So I'm quote unquote going to be doing a pipe. That was my goal, but it didn't really come out that way. I mean, they're still cute, but I think they were just too short for me to do what I wanted it to do. So now I'm just taking my nail clipper and I'm just cutting it down to where I feel like is a good length. And again, I actually like my nails to kind of start out a little bit shorter because I know they're going to grow out and get longer. So that's kind of a thing. And so now I'm just taking my scissors and kind of cutting off the sides. I was trying to show you guys how I was doing that to shape it a little bit more so I wouldn't have to do as much filing. That was my overall goal, but I don't know if that was really achieved. These scissors were whack. Okay, they are supposed to be shears anyway, so doubt they were made for this. But yeah, so I'm just going through and cutting all of them down. Okay, so now I have them all cut down to the length that I want. And just a little beginner non-pro tip, if you want them to be a little bit longer, or if you know you have to do a lot of filing, cut them just a little bit longer than what you would normally have them. And that gives you room to file and to like get down to the nitty gritty, which is what I'm doing now. I'm filing off everything. But what I'm doing is getting rid of that shiny surface, and I think that's important to note that you get rid of that shiny surface so that it has something to adhere to, and just blending in that tip with your real nail. I'm also doing the shaping here, which makes it a lot easier for after the acrylic is on. I don't necessarily have to worry about as much shaping towards the end, which is a lot harder when you have to do it with all of that acrylic. So I'm just showing you how I shape here and how I buff. I'm using a buffing block. I also got this from Sally's Beauty Supply, and it was pretty cheap actually. I think it was only like $1 or something like that, but this is one of my favorite things to do. And of course I'm out of camera, so yeah, that's a thing there. And you would think, as many plan with me's as I do, that I would have this correct, but it was a different setup than how I would do normally. So I was just showing you guys my nails now, and I went ahead and again I sprayed it with alcohol and I wiped it off with a lint-free wipe that isn't really lint-free. We'll talk about that another time. But I wiped that off. So now I'm going back in with just a dehydrator on my actual nail, not on the like press on nail or whatever, like the fake nail tip, whatever. I'm just doing dehydrating on my actual nail, and that I did learn from Long Hair Pretty Nails, and yeah, that's the one. Okay, so now I'm going to be showing you what to do with the dip. We're going to get into the dipping now, and I have my little brush there. I'm showing you all the tools that I have. I have the Lifu, which is the base coat, and the like application coat or whatever I guess you could call it, top coat, so it doubles as 2-in-1. And I'm using this Azure powder. I really like this one a little bit better than my trial packs because it's just a bigger tube and I can just stick my finger in there. So now I am going to be going in and doing the apex first and just dipping it down in there. So I do this with all of the nails so that I can build up that strength. And so that's just between where the tip and where your fingernail meet. And that just really, really gives it the strength it needs so that it doesn't break on you. So you'll hear people talking about that, which is building up the apex. I am not a guru, as you guys know, but that's one of the things I learned for sure. And it has really, really helped me with the amount of breakage and things like that, especially if you do longer nails. You definitely want to not skip over doing this step, and you don't want to necessarily, as you can see on my pinky, I like forgot that I was just doing the apex and I went all the way in, but you don't have to do a big thick layer of that. Just do a thin layer, just enough to have the powder adhere. And this is exactly how the process works. You just dip it down there at a 45-degree angle. And I do all of my nails at once. You could definitely do one nail at a time if you want to. Definitely preference, totally up to you. It's just the method that I choose to use when I'm doing them. I just do one nail, then I move on to the next and move on to the next, and you'll see how I kind of get into doing the application and stuff. Okay, so now we're going to be getting into doing the full nail. So I am going to be starting not all the way down. That is the super duper key to not building up a real thick nail at the nail bed, is by starting like three. Okay, so you did the apex, and then would that be 3/4? Like 3/4 of the way down. Like, just don't go all the way down to the bottom. Like, if you had a piece of pie, you would eat. Okay, wait, we're not talking about pie. So you really just want to go not towards the end. So 75%, then do 80%, and then do the whole thing, or 85%, and then the whole thing. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going all the way on my nail. Nice, thin, even layer of this applicator. Like, you definitely want to make sure that the base is applied very thinly, because you'll see on one of my nails, I actually did this before, where I put too much on there, and so it built it up like where it shouldn't have been built up so much. And you can really take your time. This doesn't take that long to do, especially if you're just doing a basic dip with no tips. You just want to do your manicure. This is a super easy way to do your manicure, but of course, y'all know me, I got to have me a little tip, a little tippity tip. And then you just dip it all down in there. So now I am done with that first layer. I guess you could say first 2 layers of the clear. Now, since I'm going to be using a color this time, because that's the overall thing I'm doing, is I'm trying to ombre. I'm trying it with y'all, so don't judge me. Don't come for me. But I can tell you the process for it. I just tore up some stuff, and I'll tell you how I did it at the end, because I did a good job of doing the ombre. I just didn't do a good job of executing it afterwards. So what I'm applying now is the activator, and I learned that if you put the activator on there, this is what hardens the powder or acrylic or whatever you want to call it. This is what hardens it so that it's ready for you to do like any filing or anything like that. So what I learned is, so that it doesn't take an hour or 2 hours to dry from putting on multiple layers, is to put the activator on in between your layers, and that makes sure that everything is dry, because that's what it's doing. It's drying it out. And so I do that on all of my fingers, and then I will come back and start the next set of nails. And this is just, like I said, it's just something I learned, because I ended up like having to take, well, did I take off a whole set? I pretty much took off a whole set of nails before, because it just wouldn't get dry and it was just too much. And you can tell the difference if it's dry or not, because you can tap it like I was just doing, and you can see if it's ready. Now I'm using this quick dip powder. It is from Sally's Beauty, because I got this idea in my head, and of course Amazon is a 2-day wait, so I just went to the closest place I could go, and I'm dipping the whole entire nail into the nude color. And I didn't go all the way down to the bottom. It looks like I did, but this is where I kind of went to the 85% and not really the whole thing. So I'm just doing that again. I'm going to put down you can see where I'm placing my brush at. It's not going all the way down to the bottom, but I am still trying to make sure that I give a nice, thin, even coat. Like, you want to make sure it's an even coat. I can't stress that enough, because it does show up. And I'm taking the bottom of my cuticle pusher and using that to kind of like spread the dip around, and that helps as well. All right, so this is the last nail on the first tan colored, or barely nude, I think that's what it's called, that I'm using as like my base color, and then I'm going to be putting on the sparkles on top of that. I left the dust on there just because I didn't want to mess with the acrylic powder and all that stuff. I didn't want to mess it up or anything, so I just kind of let it dry on there. It doesn't hurt to stay on your skin at all. I promise you, it's not going to do anything. So now I'm doing this will be quote unquote the third layer. So this is the layer I'm just doing just to kind of make it not as opaque, which is what's happening here. It's very opaque, and that's because, you know, it's a light tan color. And most of them, I would say, even still, it's kind of like that too. So I'm gonna show you what I'm doing. I should have did a full nail of the tan color again, but I didn't. But here I'm just adding these sprinkles at the top, and this is like the silvery color that you see on the nails, and this part came out so good. I used a brush and did it like sprinkled it on top of there, and then I used my cuticle pusher at the bottom to like scoop it onto the bottom part of the nail. Now this is why I was saying I should have did a whole nother coat, because I needed more color. I needed more color there to be more bold, and because I didn't do the whole nail again, it made it very like opaque, and you could just see right through it. So I thought this would be a good learning lesson for me as I'm talking about it. So I would just do another layer of the color before you get started with doing like these sprinkles and stuff. If you're going to add like a sparkle or doing your ombre, that way your bottom part is completely where you want it to be. And this is the whole process. It's just sprinkling the sprinkles at the top and then doing the dip at the bottom. And yeah, that's how it works. Okay, so as you can see, you can really see how opaque it is and why I should have did more. But now I learned that I could just dip the top and I would get more sprinkles, so I wouldn't have to do that multiple times, and then scoop the bottom. So dip and scoop, dip and scoop. What I probably could have done as well was do the scoop first and then the dip, and then it kind of would have made the silver ombre into there. I don't know. Again, I'm still learning all this stuff, y'all. Like, I'm still learning. So I'm just trying new stuff. Like, really, I could just do a basic set. Like, I got the basics down. It's now just doing the extra stuff. Like, I really know what I'm doing. So like I said, I wanted to go back in and make it more like silvery. I noticed that I didn't have a whole lot when I just did the sprinkles on there with the eyeshadow brush. But I think that would be perfect for just adding a little bit of shimmer at the top, but not so much as doing this whole little ombre thing that I was trying to do. So yeah, it was the whole thing. So now I'm just making sure I let that sit, and I'm painting just a little bit of the base coat just up at the top. And I want to say this is, well, I don't know where it kind of went to the left. And it could have been because I got hungry and it was kind of late at night. And so I may have been rushing as well. It's a combination of all the things. But guess what? They're my nails. So none of this matters. Like, I mean, if I don't like them, I could take them off right now and redo them. And I didn't pay anybody for them. But this is my relaxing time. So it just kind of like works for me. All right, so now I'm just showing you guys kind of what I was talking about the like opaqueness. And there was one nail that like I just did the most with. So I'm gonna tell you what I realized I did wrong, and I only realized it when I was re-watching this video to do the editing. Is that I picked up my nail file and I was filing it down instead of buffing it out. I had already pretty much got it to a point. I did thin layers. There was only one nail that needed to be thinned out because of me putting a layer on there that I shouldn't have. But I should have went in there and buffed it out. And that was the biggest, like, don't do that ever in your life. Like, don't do that. Make sure you buff first, and then if you need to file something out, then do that. So what I decided to do was just go in, and I'm actually putting there's that gel right there. It's one of my paint pots, and I was going to attempt to paint the tan, and then like I was gonna try to ombre it myself, and it just looked a complete hot mess. So what did I do? I went to what I know, and that's the sparkles. You can never go wrong with these sparkles. If you want to make your nails look like $1,000, okay, get these Model 1s sparkle paint pots, because they are everything. So I just let that sit in there for 60 seconds in my lamp, and then I went in and did the top coat and just the top coat. So what I did was just kind of go in and fill in those areas that looked really sparse. My ring finger, that was the one that had that little crooked nail. You could see it there, like she looking a little funny. And that's because that's where it did not like take the entire, well, actually I had just filed it away. Okay. I filed away a lot of the tan that didn't have to be filed away if I would have just buffed instead of filing. So just, look, life lessons by Shell. I'm teaching you here. Okay, live in the flesh. You're getting this in the flesh. Again, I am not a professional. This is just someone who wants to save some coin and do things at home. So I can kind of tell you guys how much this costs me altogether. If you were just to do the dip powder, and you can get that ombre set. You can get the whole set of dip powder with the everything, the base and the applicator and all that stuff. You can get that for $21 on sale on Amazon. Then you can get this lamp that I'm using. I believe it's like $19 now. And you can get the Beatles polish. I think I told you guys that in my other video. But you can get that Beatles polish and just use that. I am a really big fan of just, you know, doing stuff at home and buying it a little at a time. You can get the basic starter kit for under $50 or under $70 actually. You can get a drill, the file, all this stuff. Like, you can get all of that stuff for under $70 if you're shopping strategically, getting starter kits instead of like full on everything, and just going from there. So now I'm putting on the cuticle oil because Long Hair Pretty Nails says that's the thing. You need to make sure you use your cuticle oil, and of course it does help to kind of like rub it all in. And as you guys can see, like, it doesn't look bad. At first I was like, I'm not gonna put this up, but I think it's good that I show you guys my progress from me kind of starting with the poly gel to now doing the dip nails. And this was like my own little faux shaping. I think I like my other shaping better because this square is not giving me life, but they're still cute nonetheless. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Mwah! KK, bye!